Peace and blessings, family. Sister Ajali. I save everything up, so this is probably going to be a detailed and quite satisfying share. So I entreat you to watch the entire thing. I encourage you to get the amazing healing and fortification you will always find at 25,000yearscycle.org. Dr. She and I, we only put the best and the finest of ingredients and time into all our products because, like you, we are sick to death of all the grifters and the shysters that are the ones who are in love with Western civilization and its concepts. We're in love with you. Makes a whole sight of difference, all right? Now, let's go right on into it. In picking my thumbnail and choosing the title, it is indicative, but at the same time, in no way do I feel anything but commiseration over the epic loss of life in the Texas floods. Is also one of the reasons I wanted to wait a bit, because I do have some serious complaining analysis to do, but it's about those who are surrounding that horrible tragedy, not towards the people who suffered, who, as many have noted, were pretty much all white. And the reason why I say this is because Fukushima, the radiation, it is so destructive to every single level of matter and thereby our reality that it interferes with the weather systems even on this planet. We live on this planet too. There can be and have been those of us who've been caught up in the outcome of releasing so much just anatomically obliterating energy onto this earth, so that none of us should ever just sit back and say, well, it's getting them. And I know it's not in our nature to be cold, no matter how much the propaganda tries to make it seem that way. Oftentimes what we're experiencing is a need to seem as if we are superhuman, above, and then we'll just equate having human emotions and compassion as being a sign of weakness. And also because the demons, then they tend to be the white folks and those who worship the white folks, and that could be a smattering of everybody. They have brought war to us, and during a war, your best tactic would seem to just be stoic about the whole thing. But that is where melanin is a mighty peacemaker, because and I don't mean to make peace with people who can't be made peace with, and so far historically they've never stopped making war. What I mean is melanin is a thinking reality that, when employed at Allah's utmost intention for it, we outthink any devil out there, all right? That's just the way it is. That's the facts. And so I can look at black us who have spoken the truth about this tragedy, but at the same time in a harsh and not fully encompassing of the fact that black us, we live on the same planet, and things have happened because of nature that have brought about the end of many of our family and friends, including the other outcome from from radiation, which is cancer and diabetes and thyroid issues and all of these other things. And so many of us have, like any unique group of people, we have a fascination with ourselves, and the media is run by white people. And the school system itself. And so they have narrowed our comprehension of what is happening on this planet, that it all has to do with us, because this is our planet. We were the first people here with the Aboriginal people. It has narrowed our ability to understand that there is not a damn thing happening on this earth that doesn't warrant our attention to the details, to the analysis of those details. And thereby, we might take certain events out of context. And that's what I do come here to share, because as soon as Fukushima popped off, I said, oh no, we are not going to go to any daggone white anti-nukers. We are not going to be reading no daggone Rosalie Bertell, No Immediate Danger, all the other rad books that I've read, and find out the scourge of the most epic genocidal weapon they have ever wielded against all life forms, all life forms. We're not going to do that, so that we know this one flood in Texas is not isolated to Texas. Right now in China, and this is something with the Daily Mail, because I'm just like, they will pick in a minute, in a heartbeat, and there'll be more on that, any single black person out here, us, who they can then say, look at how vicious black people are. Look at this woman, she gloating over children being drowned. And then there's like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 or more Chinese people. Half the country is underwater right now. The flooding there is like, it's wiping away whole villages. Let alone simply, and I am not gloating, but girls' sleepaway camps. I'm not saying it's a small thing, but I'm just saying, you want to accuse us of being cold-hearted? Look to yourselves. You're the ones who never, ever, ever mention Fukushima and man-made radiation in total. I am so glad I comprehend, because, I'm going to share some quotes from Rosalie Bertell. I owe Rosalie, I think she dead, but she still, I owe her an apology, because I said I doubted her veracity, her truth. But reading more of this sucker, she may focus on the military, but she was putting out the scathing facts about just how secretive they are by their own commands to one another, how secretive they must be about the destructive force of radiation. So don't you dare open your mouth to accuse the victim of being a victimizer just because they cuss their attacker out. Stop. And so I had, I actually even put it on my front page of my platform on YouTube. I had done a video about Trump decimating the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency, and there are an awful lot of questions swirling over its smaller agency within called the National Weather Service. And in the decimation of the NOAA's budget, all kinds of really pertinent services that, yes, I know they lie, but at the same time, this is, the reason for the without a paddle, because they have no navigational just impulse to stick with the truth, to stick with the facts, but they like to imagine themselves as, like, we're on a wonderful White Rapids journey and we're gonna take the whole world to hell, all right? They don't stand by the truth enough, but they like to pretend that they have the truth in their goals. And oftentimes when you're a scientist, that's what you're supposed to do. There's supposed to be a standard of analysis of balancing one fact against another fact, proof against proof, so that it's not simply a hypothesis, an educated guess, but it is a consistent conclusion that one can reach, and thereby you can build infrastructures. You could have children not be murdered by a flood that nobody alerted them about long enough so that there could have been effective evacuation and far less lives lost. And thereby, the fact that the Weather Service was on a shoestring budget because of so many cuts, it segues 100% into the reason why Trump had to cut back on the NOAA, which is the fact that that was the one body, governmental organization that had to have the data proving the terrible, ferocious outcome of Fukushima, even if they never mentioned it. They did have to mention things like this. From 2017 to 2025, North Atlantic right whale unusual mortality event. Now, the precipitator to all this death amongst this animals, the species in the oceans, are in the Pacific, where there's thousands and millions of creatures that are just dead and gone. I did a report about, they were telling the natives of Canada that they were the only ones allowed on their tribal lands anymore, and that white people had to get out. That's how they play this stuff. They make it seem like it's some sort of wokery, when they just mean to pour all the people they can't stand, like black us. All right? They told the white people, oh, you can't go there anymore. That's because the lands are radioactively contaminated. And they don't want theirs going up. White people, they don't trust white people. They tend to go with Geiger counters. That's where a lot of the best readings of just how contaminated this planet is have come from. Go to Veterans Today website, where he shows the counts per minute across the United States. They are unsurvivable for the long term, because white people know about white people, okay? And so in the Pacific, that's where, because I was looking, I knew that can't be good with Fukushima. But then the news media came out saying, oh, no, radiation is good for you. It's sunlight that's bad. It's those potato chips. That's my family in the kitchen. It's the potato chips that are bad, right? I knew when they were saying stuff like that it had to be a lie. So I did just feverish investigation. I built up my own little library and read the books so that I could find, oh my goodness, it is truly just a narrowing on our part of our understanding of how this is our planet, for us not to investigate man-made radiation and its implications and its uses as a genocidal weapon. And so when it comes to the creatures in the Pacific, there are far more that have died there for the moment. Radiation doesn't stay in one place. But from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Fisheries, they say it's an unusual mortality event because it's the rain. Most of the rain comes from the Pacific Ocean, and it only takes one atom to cause absolute epic destruction. All right? And so, yeah, they don't want any more reports like this. Where's the other one? Right over here. Right? Minke whale unusual mortality event along Atlantic coast. And they'll have whole families just going up and down, looking at these dead whales. I did another one where I was talking about there's no hope for them. I'll put the video of how the currents, the waves on the West Coast were glowing at night because of the bioluminescent creatures that ordinarily would not proliferate in those waters, but things like the phytoplankton, which provide most of the oxygen on the planet from the Pacific Ocean, they're going. That's why they use radiation for chemotherapy, even though that's a terrible way to cure cancer, right? Because it will kill off everything, and they hope it'll kill off the cancer. But then those acid-loving creatures and cancer cells are anaerobic, meaning that they can survive without oxygen. They come back faster. So all of the acidic bacteria in the Pacific is coming back, including the bioluminescent ones. And that's why there's been such a deluge of septic water, sanitation being flowed into the Pacific Ocean, because I think they're trying to they're doing a fecal matter transplant with the Pacific Ocean, trying to restabilize the balance, which that ain't gonna work. But for a long while, there was just this glowing waves out there, and white people going to look at it, go, "Ooh, ain't this amazing?" You know, they love to think of themselves as just the smartest people on the planet. But they will fall for their own okie dokie, even if they don't trust each other. There might have been enough of them who didn't trust each other to start asking questions, and that's why they started pouring sewage into there. And they're doing it over here too. Since when do you have a nation that can't control an advanced first world nation that can't control the flow of sewage? And so Trump, and I thank Kevin Blanche for sharing this, Trump has now fired his second chief of the NOAA, or the Nuclear Regulatory Commissioner, the second one, Christopher Hansen, over a conflict of visions. That's crazy. That's basically what it is that this is LinkedIn with Kristi Noem, who everybody was just like, she was up there with her guns and her dead creature photos. She had worked for a particular nuclear agency that now is being awarded a contract, and I understand that the maintenance on this nuclear power plant, NuScale, is terrible. But that's right now, these dudes, they don't give a damn. They know they have basically made the entire planet a friggin' dump. And so they don't give a damn. They're lying about also the SMRs. Ain't nobody building no daggone SMRs. Small modular reactors. Because what is you need a 20-foot concrete wall to protect yourself from the radiation emanating from the fissioning process. Ain't nothing that has to be built with 20-foot concrete walls all around it going to be capable of fitting, a couple of little modular compact mechanisms on the back of a truck and going anywhere. Science does not bend to whiteism. They wish it would. Their media does, because they control it. They control, like I said, with the sister who was like angry. Part of just being exhausted with these people, where then they want to flip it and say, oh yeah, black fatigue, and they hire some black guy on TikTok to get up there and say, yeah, I'm getting tired of hearing black people whine, and he's black. But there's plenty of us who will take the cash. And then that allowed all the white people to get up there and start saying, yeah, black fatigue. And then you find out that China is funding an awful lot of that. But China and the USA, they work together. Don't get it twisted. I might speak more on that. But I'm just saying, Trump fired the dude because also they need to keep their nuclear going. And there would be people working at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission who would like to flatter themselves that they're genuine scientists, even though when you're reading things like Rosalie Bertell's book, you realize that they're not allowed to tell the full scope of what radiation does if they're working for the government, and these agencies are run by the government. And so, yeah, Trump keeps firing them so that he can put his dudes in there. And they're going to do what he tells them to do, just like he does what Bibi tells him to do. And so they have all these, why the U.S. must protect the independence of its nuclear regulator. So they're changing different little laws so that they can ensure they can just use their favorite genocidal weapon and make lots of cash at it too. And the way that they ensure their narrative doesn't get exposed, because there's a lot of different things that go along with right now the release. Let me see if I can find that. Where just recently Trump tried to harangue a news reporter over asking about the Epstein list, and he says, "You're still talking about Epstein?" It is exciting. It's exciting to see here in Zero Hedge. I was just reading these comments and reading them up on here, because these racist white people, I'm not saying everybody who comments at Zero Hedge has to be a racist, but these folks are having conniption fits. Then let it all collapse. They're like, they don't know. So, and some of them are speaking a lot of the truth, but at the same time, it's them, okay? So they're having conniption fits. They're like saying, well, it was good while it lasted. I don't know what we're going to do anymore. Like, they don't know how not to believe in their system, because their system protects their predator mimicry. It's built to accomplish that. That's why the U.S. government has been hiding the fact that there wouldn't have been enslavement of our ancestors without the United States government ensuring that it ran smoothly. They like to kind of just put it off on individual slaveholders. And that's not, the slaveholders wouldn't have survived individually unless there was a system protecting them. And so for Trump to dispense with the Epstein list, and for the FBI, they're the ones who just came out and said there's no list, I think to myself, why would they need these epic distractions going on? I'm not saying that pedophilia on a systematic level, and that's protected by the U.S. government and all of these different governments, isn't huge. But I thought about that big, beautiful bill, which is simply a way of Trump saying big, BB, big, beautiful bill, BBBB. And so big BB, right? Because you saw him kissing BB's ring when he came for a visit over here, and actually said that they've nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize. It's like, are you serious? Like, bomb away. You can bomb people, kill people in order to bring about peace. No, that's just war, because you don't have to bomb anybody. Who started it? Who's paying Hamas? Those are the questions that need to be asked. And so I thought about that AI bill, that they have not even mentioned the fact that it makes all the states powerless over the rollout of AI in all of their different agencies. And what does that mean for the level of privacy? We already know with social media there is no privacy. But when it comes to the government itself, it has access to data that is truly, really personal for each and every single supposed citizen. We know that's not at all. Since the Civil War, hasn't been a single citizen here. Okay? Even after the American Revolutionary War, England was in charge. But all of these different things that are just blowing off, where you've got Macron or the French Prime Minister, like, why is he still around? But him getting pushed by his really old wife, and just China. Like, I'm like, the girls in Texas, and again, my condolences to their families. I don't mean any untowards. I do not gloat over death. But I'm like, they're singling us out for derision as if one of us, I mean, how many mean white people are there out there who gloat over the slightest harm happening to black you and me? Right? They'll take one black woman and one black man, and that becomes all of us because they control the media. And so in China, though, half the daggone country is underwater. Whole villages have been washed away. Not just simply one girl's summer camp. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm saying, where's the outrage over that? Why isn't anybody talking about the horror of China's dams? Because I would be the first one to say, oh, that's the radiation. A lot of it is. But at the same time, China's response to it, the CCP's response to it, is to flood the low-lying poor villages so that they can save the rich upper level ones from the rainfall. And there's no white media pretty much anywhere talking about any of that. Thousands have lost their lives. My condolences to them also. So these dudes are, I mean, desperate for there to be blood. Speaking of using us as the poster children, as far as they're concerned, the poster child of whatever madness they want to get done. That's because the satanic elite want to deflect the ravenous white mob onto us. And that was the point of Kamala Harris, who I'm quite sure they are going to try to resurrect her behind over this whole Epstein file thing and the fact that Trump, in everybody who does the research's firm conclusion, is a massive pedophile. All right? And that's what they have to have on him so that he will stay in line. But he's also a psychopath, so he don't give a damn. He don't give a damn. You can't. He gets up there. He's so convincing with his narcissistic, mental case charming ways. He doesn't give a damn. So he would be doing this without any fear whatsoever, just of his own volition, even if he didn't have a, predilection for liking 10-year-olds. I don't know. I'm just saying, right? But then on the other hand, you and regular you and I, we aren't doing any of this. Look, they scripted him and told him, make sure you look extra cold and brutal. White people are so scared of that. Okay? And then on the other side, they got a guy with the CCP flag, and his eyes are very well cut out in the whole face covering. That's just too daggone convenient, because that is part of their strategy. When there's violence, who's got time to build? Who's got time to be a more efficient rival to the devil? Okay? That's one of the things I wrote in the one of the things I read in Rosalie's book. That is their military strategy. In order to eliminate competition, they cause wars. And those who have the least resources, that would be black you and me and others out there who just don't have a couple pennies to rub together even, they could wipe all of us out with not a blink of concern. And that's the plan. They need people riled up. When watching all of the different videos about China, I am not shocked to see that in the most monitored, censored place on the planet, they will let certain uplifts or uploads or social media posts just go viral. Nothing goes viral by accident, especially in China. So there will be things out there about, are you ready to be a soldier? Are you ready to speak up? And in China, that means just blow a fuse. And there's so many explosions happening from disgruntled workers because their economy is in free fall collapse as they want it to be. And when China, if you say anything, just like on YouTube, they know know when a channel is something that, no, we don't like that. And they will lock you down at just 10, 15 views. Dana Durnford, white dude, got all the friggin', paraphernalia you need to be epically successful. But he showcases radiation. Thank you for doing that, Dana. Right? But I'm just saying, he gets upset because he's just like, wow, only 15 people on this live. He doesn't know how many people are watching. But at the same time, most people are surface thinkers. So if they don't see you as being popular, they think, oh, well, you must not be telling the truth. When, oh my goodness, there's so many books to prove. Every single scathing evidence that nuclear is obliterating in books everywhere. Okay? And so the censorship is stacked. And in China, they want chaos. They want revolution because they don't stop. They just keep pushing everybody, talking everybody into going in and buying up stocks. And then the very next day, they'll just flood the market with something so all the stocks go down. And poof, there goes all that Chinese money them people save like nobody's business. They want bloody armed insurrection in China and in the United States, all over the globe, because then the satanic elites can say, whoo, thank goodness. And so that's why they got Black Us and the Democratic Party, because they were going to have Kamala Harris, who is not black at all, right? Meghan Markle's not black, who she's being friggin', Marietta, I forget that donkey that they put up there, and you take the stick and you keep hacking at it. Well, that's what they're doing with Meghan Markle. Until her black family, and I don't just mean her swirling mother, her Procyon loader mother, but where'd her black mother come from? I ain't seen none of them people. Then she's just officially white. But they will use her to get white people used to, once again, attacking us on Henry McCow's website. I appreciate the information he puts out there, but he's a white dude, and he probably racist as hell. But he tries his best to be, impartially analytical in favor of white racism, okay? But he just had out there a post that said, why can't white people use the word nigger? No, of course you can't. Nigger is there's so much depth in the usage of it. And why? Until we have our own separate nation that is acknowledged as sacrosanct, then white people, they can't use it, because we are a prisoner of war nation that they dare not even acknowledge as a separate nation, even though everything they do proves they know we're a separate people. Right? There's right now with Trump, there's no representation of us, and they're always trying to use us as the poster children of their latest lunacy. Right? And so with Henry McCow, they're just like this. They can't wait. They can't wait to get us into a situation where then they could just hurl their worst. So that's what all of this stoking, even with the Jeffrey Epstein missing tapes and he committed suicide. At this point in time, I firmly do believe that dude's still alive. He's still alive. He's somewhere. He probably got plastic surgery. He could have just been walking down the block looking like a black man right in front of my house. Okay? I'm just saying, in terms of just the level of madness that these people have to employ to have any hope of winning over their own evil doing, which is just coming at them. Oh, that nothingness, the antimatter is pulling them in, and they hope we'll go right on in there with them. So here you got rogue soldiers charged in extremist plot to take Canadian province. Now, this is probably some white dudes, because in the end, with human beings, we do have a rootedness to certain natural tendencies depending on our racial group. And even though they've talked an awful lot of clueless black people into being part of the Boule or being one of the Greeks, the Soros or the frats, and with some of them, oh my goodness, the pledges they have to take are absolutely satanic. Right? And then there are ones who are just part of their own little Satanist group themselves. Peace, son. They are not going to be the level of evil that comes easy for white people. All white people? No. All right? That's not what I'm saying. But they'll turn a blind eye. Like, you are not going to run across a white person doing anything like I do, like Dr. She does, like Dr. Africa did. No, never. It's not going to happen. Okay? So they have a right, and you know what? It shouldn't happen. They have a right. They're a unique individual group. They have a right to protect themselves all the way up until the point where they become predator mimics. And then we have every right to protect ourselves. So I'm just saying, when it comes to their encouragement to have civil war, they have to oftentimes go to their own white folk because, if I see another article about, them just like taking out the whole family, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm not saying we don't have wrongdoers, but there's no comparison. We don't commit world wars. We don't stack the deck so that we could also hide the fact that all these nations are working in collaboration together to get that accomplished. So that no one is telling the truth. The experts, plural, discovered the cause of enormous increase of cancer deaths in young people and the true toll it takes. This is a bunch of crap writing here, where they don't say anything about the cause of it whatsoever, because there's a spike. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been talking about it in the first place. But all they say is, well, they're not diagnosing it on time. I, years and years back, had reported that the AMA told doctors they were overdiagnosing cancer. And in the commentary I made, I said that's because when it rises, then it will have had a gestational period of a couple of years, so that by the time the person walks in and gets a diagnosis, 2 days later they're dead. And that's what's been happening. That's not the cause of the cancer to start with, which there's still been a spike. Right? So these people are just out and out treacherous liars. They've got no paddle, going up a stream trying to look like they're credible. The paddle is tell the daggone truth. Like with this right here, this is crazy. Europe's extreme weather. Yes, it's like I said, in China it's extreme. It's extreme everywhere. Because when you have something hot on a one atom basis and there's been thousands of tons released into the atmosphere, the overwhelming Fukushima by now has had to have been at least 100,000 Hiroshima bombs. That's the scale of change we're seeing. And so it is melting the Arctic region. And that is releasing turbulence because you've got the ebb and flow with the winds of extreme heat. And then places that aren't getting enough sunlight, or not enough. It's just, this angle of the sun is different for all those friggin' flat earthers out there who half of you are a bunch of agents. I'm just saying. It's making all weather systems more turbulent. It's releasing massive amount of water into the oceans. And that is destabilizing everything. So they've got in Europe extreme weather and the wildfires. And I mean, there's a wildfires. Where them daggone orange skies? Where's the orange skies that you saw? Okay? I'm just saying, it's not that the radiation isn't there. It's just that when they were They never even mention the orange skies. Here they're trying to make it look like, oh, this is what's going on. Oh, look, it's orange over here, because Daily Mail watches my shares, all right? But then when you keep scrolling down to the other photos, where's the orange skies here? Okay? Why ain't they explain the science of that? Because they never, ever dare to mention their favorite genocidal weapon. You can see them orange skies for hundreds of miles around, right? I saw them myself here in New York with the fires up in Canada, where there is enough radiation that was released back into the atmosphere. You can't burn the stuff up. Okay, if you could, then you could have a nuclear explosion on your stove every time you wanted to boil some water, right? But I saw it right here. I went out for a run and I hadn't really heard the news. And so when I looked, I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And then as I was breathing, I was like, go back home, girl. Go back home. And that's exactly what I did. Right? And then I know what to do to get the radiation out. Go to 25000yearcycle.org. Go to the Ajali Shabazz link and buy the book, Furnace of Affliction. I do that because your support will fund my ability to get the necessary equipment to test our food for radioactive isotopes, because the FDA is allowing all food in from Japan. That means primarily from Fukushima. They said there will be no more alerts. They didn't say there'll be no more radiation. They said there'll be no more alerts. My apologies, I wasn't sharing the screen with you, family, but this is the photos. No orange skies. No orange skies. Then they have one thing up here that's moving where it looks a little bit orange. I'm not saying it's not, right? There's been plenty of nuclear... Oh, there's so many accidents happening. Accidents. All over. And the most nuclear power facilities are in white populated areas, and they're just gunning to get into Africa. That's why they got the CCP up in there, because they're thinking that the Africans are going to trust them more, even though the Africans are burning down a lot of Chinese factories. They're not burning down European ones, okay? So it's not like they're just ungrateful, right? But that's why the CCP is over there, because that was a plan, a strategy they determined, I think it was back in the 1970s, where how they were going to get into Africa and take it over was they were just going to use the Chinese, because the Africans are fed up with white people. Oh my goodness. Wow. How's that possible? Okay. So yeah, sorry, it's not orange. It's not orange. I'm just saying in terms of the way that these dudes lie. Here, more people dying because of the Wigner effect, which is just the effect on every single level of reality, of matter, when it comes to radiation impacting with anything. It tears it to pieces. So this whole family, woo, that is a mean looking dude. I'm just saying. They're dead. They just went to the beach. They went to the beach. Whole thoroughly white family, even though they look like they got a little, maybe he's got a little bit of mestizo in him, whatever, but them children look so white that it's just been bled out completely. They are, oh my goodness, the Mexicans and the South Americans, they are so desperate to be white. But then, you know, all them non-black, non-white folks out there think that this is the bee's knees. And if you are a genuinely white person, you should be working on your people, so that the only way to have self-love is you cannot have self-hate. All right? You got to work on your people so that you tell the truth. You're not rolling down the river without a paddle whatsoever to keep yourself steered straight ahead. Okay? They're just, yeah, they're gone. They're gone, they're gone, they're gone. I'm just saying, they don't say anything about anything as far as telling their people the truth so they can save their lives. So when it comes to us being so heartless and so cold and so brutal, just this share alone proves that that's a bunch of BS. Here these dudes are, trying to hide the carnage that radiation causes through every single grifter, vile method that they can do. And in the book, I mean in great detail, Rosalie lays it out how the U.S. military insists that the impact of radiation be thoroughly hidden, and they wipe away the lives of dozens and dozens of their precious young children, and they are never going to stop. We simply have to share that paddle that they have thrown out their boat heading to hell. All right? All right. Again, I entreat you, go to 25000yearscycle.org. This is not an advertisement. It is a rescue that is profound given the, wow, I mean, look at all these tabs, and I'm not even near finished, and I was like, oh, I'm going to read the quotes, but basically I just reiterated what Rosalie said and what is just simply true from all my research. Share the data. Donate. I thank all of you who do donate, and I thank all of you who purchase the products. I haven't been able to thank anybody right now, but I know when I come back the next time that I surely will be able to, because I know if I was me and I wasn't me and I was looking at me, I would be running to purchase whatever I produce, because I would just be like, yo, she for real. Because I probably would have gone out and bought a couple of the books that I recommend with my book list already and been like, you mean to tell me she the only black person on the whole planet telling us the truth about this stuff? I need that book. At least. Furnace of Affliction, Healing, Radiation Damage to the Human, HUE, -men body. All right? All right. Oh, I missed you, family. Sharing with you is one of my greatest pleasures, but I got to get my latest book done. It's astounding. Oh, my goodness. And keep doing those things, taking care of home and hearth that I love. I don't know who talked us women out of the joy of being there for the most amazing man on the planet, the black man, because, whoa, heaven is right where we are. Peace and blessings. Oh, straight black family pride. Always.